Hello, and welcome to Night Clerk Radio, episode 121. That's surprising every time. I'm Bert and joined by Ross Payton. As always, look at this intro.
Hello.
Hello. And today, it's an interesting one. Today's a little bit of a topic. It's a little bit of a newish music. Mm-hmm. We're doing, passion Plunderphonics, passionphonics, passionate Plunderphonics. Mm-hmm. So we're doing the album Passion by DJ VLK, which came out really April, about a year ago. So really not newish music, but it was linked on our Patreon Discord, like 2 or 3 months ago. It turns out that this whole album is produced from samples from a soap opera called Passions, which ran from like 99 to 2007. And because they're on that soap opera production schedule, it's something like 2,000 episodes, I think, in that original run.
The show note or the album notes list 2,051 episodes. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I remember 2000 in there. And also because we'll get into it, there's like a playlist of episodes. It's like 2,300 videos long of like Passion episodes.
Oh, on YouTube?
I don't know how many of them are like still there or like taken down.
Yeah, or repeats of the same episodes, yeah.
But what is Passions, which is going to be half this episode, like this idea of like lost memory hold media. And then we'll talk about the album itself because it's really interesting and really cool album. But as I said, Passions was this long-running soap opera on NBC. It was like all the soap opera bullshit that you think of, like all those tropes, but also like demons and ghosts and resurrected toys and all kinds of like every paranormal trope attached on top of it. Again, it had this huge run. I mean, it's not like one of these shows where it ran for like 13 episodes and it was weird and shitty and then everyone forgets it, right? Like Cavemen or something, right? It ran for a long time on a major network and it's just kind of gone. Like they won't put it on Peacock. It is available, as we were saying, in like pirated form that gets probably cycled up and down as copyright sentinels come through. Mm-hmm. It's in some capacity on YouTube. There may be DVDs that are like out of print, but it just doesn't exist anymore. And it got memory hold. And this album is like a pretty awesome remembrance of it.
Oh, yeah. So it's Plunderphonics. All the sound from it is sourced from the show, at least according to the album notes. And it's fucking wild. I love it so much. But yeah, Passions, I remember Passions because...
Oh, okay. I'd never heard of it.
Because I knew people in high school and in college who were fans of it. Because Passions was like the last daytime soap opera, original soap opera that was made by a major network, and because... soap operas started, around the time of actually radio, right? And then they became television, and you have like shows like Days of Our Lives and General Hospital that would last for decades. Like there's one that's like, it was on the air for 57 years. It has, 11,000 episodes or something stupid like that. And Passions was the last one, and it was sort of a changing because of all the paranormal elements. Like they had beginning of when like paranormal romance and fantasy and urban fantasy was starting to gain mainstream attention. Like I think this is around the time Twilight started picking up and like, obviously Harry Potter and stuff like that. And so people were more receptive to it. But like I knew people in high school and college who were fans of it because it was so outrageous and so over the top that they became fans of it, because like the older soap operas were very like people being outrageous, but like they're still just regular people. It's just like, this family is being mean to this family, but like you had a witch who animates a doll to be your little familiar homunculus guy running around, and suddenly you got something that can grab teenagers' attentions apparently.
Yeah, because you can only do so much with the tropes, like you were saying, of these two people don't like each other, but they're secretly dating this other third person, blah, 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 blah. And I think the ridiculous of soap operas has long been a media trope, like a meta trope, because there's that movie, I think it's just called Soap. It's like Kevin Kline, where it's like a meta behind the scenes of a fictional soap opera, but I think like Whoopi Goldberg's in it as the writer. It turns out that like the real life, kind of the joke is that the real life romantic trysts of all these people are like more interesting than the show itself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of like bleeds into the writing.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like a blue collar
Soap Dish. Sorry, yeah, Soap Dish.
Yeah, Soap Dish. Yeah,
it was 1991.
I mean, they're real workhorses, though, the soap opera stars and stuff. Like, so like they're the proletariat of the TV landscape. Just cranking out shows for years and years, working in the soap opera mines. Because even like, this was like on the air for less than 10 years and still produced over 2,000 episodes. And they were like just absolutely wild how much they got out of it. And they even had like a breakout star because one of the major characters in the show was like a witch. She turned this doll into her little servant, and they used an actor who's like a little person, and he was like this breakout success, but he died early, but otherwise he probably would still be working today because he was very popular for a while. And like, if you type in passion soap opera on YouTube, like compilations of like, the scenes of the witch and this little guy running around are like the most popular thing.
Yeah, and it's like you're supposed to be a living doll, so like they just put all these like weird gloves and stuff on them because they have no budget.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so fucking weird.
Some of the compilations show some big scenes like a boat blowing up and stuff like that, but that was obviously like for sweeps weeks or something like that. But it's very interesting because it was hugely popular back in the day, but it got canceled. It's just been, like you said, memory hold. Like when I started researching for this, I just assumed there'd be like some big YouTube video essay of an hour long explaining all the insanity.
Jenny Nicholson or Maggie Mae Fish or somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dan Olsen or somebody doing like 3 hours on this weird fucking show.
Yeah.
But no one.
I found like a 7-minute thing from a guy who does just soap opera stuff.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, bring it back. Put it on Peacock. And and like there's a couple articles about it, but that's it. There's no like physical media. I mean, there's very few soap operas get physical media releases because like how would you just need a pallet of DVDs?
Yeah, I guess I feel like it's weird that didn't stop them though.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Yeah, it's very weird. So then lost media comes into this, which is become its own thing now, right? Which is a really interesting sort of subculture now that you see on the internet. And it's not been picked up or championed by the lost media people. I went to the lost media subreddit and there's like very little people talking about it. Like they talk about other soap operas that were older, but like people just kind of like, Passion's whatever. There's no like Passion's fan project trying to catalog every season or Passion's fan wiki or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so non-existent that I actually thought that I had been kind of trolled, that it was like fake lost media. Because when people talk about it, I mean, eventually you find stuff other people talking about it on YouTube and stuff. But at first I was like, it was hard to comprehend in the modern like media landscape of something just not being available. Like I know it happens all the time, especially with like movies. Trying to find movies and they get lost in some distribution rights hellhole or whatever. And I can't find them for movie night. And then they're on YouTube. Much like Passions is just on YouTube and nowhere else. I just feel like it's such an era of just people just putting anything they can on streaming sites just to justify its existence.
I think maybe because of Passions, probably they had some sort of contract that the actors would get some kind of residuals.
Could be.
Because like it lasted until 2008. So maybe they had they bargained for some kind of streaming rights. But I think in soap operas in general, like maybe it's just too much because like, what are you going to do if it's a show that went on for 30 years, has 2,000 episodes? You can put all 2,000 episodes on, your streaming service and, that might deter people from watching if they see there's 30 seasons or there's 500 episodes to watch or, 2,000. That might be.
I guess, but I mean. Like Days of Our Lives is on there. They can pick from any of the 60 seasons, 1965 to present.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Cause like I know some of the lost media, they're talking about like a common practice for television producers and networks was to simply erase or get rid of tapes and films of older shows when they no longer especially in that like 60s to 70s period before they started realizing they could just rebroadcast it or put it on VHS or whatever.
Okay. So the Days of Our Lives only goes back for a year, by the way. Sorry.
Okay. A lot of lost media is like in that 70s period when people had late 70s period when people had access to recorders, but before networks started saving everything. So like people talk about like the Doctor Who episodes that were all junked. And so there's like 100 episodes of Doctor Who that are just gone and will probably never be seen. But like Passions was made entirely in the era of home media. So they knew to save everything. So it's in a vault somewhere.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, the album is sort of a perfect reflection of what's left of Passions in a lot of ways, because it's very fractured and distorted and, a memory of a memory, as I'm doing a very slick segue into the album.
Look at you.
Unless there's anything else you want to say about the show or the lost.
No, I just think it's interesting of something completely vanishing.
It really is.
That's it.
It's especially because it was so popular for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be, like you're saying, it has to be some rights thing.
Yeah.
Either somebody doesn't want somebody else to get a bunch of money, or they don't. There's maybe after 2,000 episodes, there's too much, or like you said, it's just too much media. It's not worth it to put it on.
I bet there's some kind of internal like study, or like the people running these streaming services have to be like, well, do people watch a show if it has like the optimal number of seasons for a show to have to be watched by people? Because if it has too few people, like, what's the point? If it has too many, big, oh God, I'll never get through that. Or like the kind of shows like, because I know people who will binge watch, 100 episodes of something, as quickly as they can. But like, if it gets to be 2,000 episodes, even the bingers are going to be like, eh.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I would love to know why.
Yeah. The internal logic.
Maybe they just forgot it. And then as soon as you're like, hey, remember the show? Put it on. Like, oh, yeah. Sorry. Here you go. Here's all 2,000.
Or maybe people just don't watch soap operas, or they're just not as compelling anymore.
Yeah. I mean, if it was the last one made, then the popularity has to be dying off, I guess, in some capacity. But
I think actually
they still make other ones.
No, there's a new soap opera coming out.
Oh, my God. They're back.
Yeah. Beyond the Gates, part of CBS's it's the first American soap opera that's come out since Passions. Beyond the Gate is about people in a very rich gated community. It seems, I guess we'll find out if that does well. It's be the first new daytime soap to debut on a major American broadcast network since Passions in 1999. Production commenced in November 2024. So, yeah. They're back, baby. Or maybe not. We'll see.
Who can say? Who can say?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about some music.
You worry about the craziest things.
So we both, we just got the one episode. We both listened to it, the one tape. It is 2 tracks. They're about 20 minutes each. So sort of the 2 sides of a cassette. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because as soon as I started it, it took me a second to warm up to it because it starts to me like pretty chaotic. There's like lasers and record scratches, before it settles down into like, I don't know. It takes like 2 minutes to kind of settle down.
Yeah.
There's like drums. There's like beats coming in and out. There's glitching.
The opening is very turntablist to me. Like, think like DJ Spooky or Koala Kid in terms of showing off production technique and just going like really trying to grab your attention at the start.
Yeah. And it's like incredibly produced in terms of when you think about using material from these episodes, like you would naively, especially coming from like maybe like a pure vaporwave context, expect them to use like music and interstitials and then a few quotes or something, right? Mm-hmm. But this is very much in the like absolute sound manipulation regime of, like we're going to turn hitting a pipe into a laser beam in Star Wars type shit.
Yeah.
Of like just taking anything that's like an interesting sound, a weird effect. And maybe I haven't seen the show. So maybe there are a lot of these from like supernatural, like witch casting spell sound effects or something.
One would think.
Yeah. So it just ends up being this entirely like really interesting soundscape of not just vocals, because there are, lines pulled from shows and stuff, either just as is or like heavily cut up, which I'll talk about in the second track.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's just, all these DJ sound effects, but they're all just produced from the show, going by the liner notes. So it's like really interesting how much it's chopped up and refiltered and just completely transformed.
Yeah. The liner notes are very helpful in understanding this album, I think, because the artist's memory of becoming a fan of this show because he would watch it alone eating an egg and cheese sandwich from the deli around the corner or in the company of his downstairs neighbors who are fans of the program and the ones who introduced him to it in the first place before catching a minibus to work at a restaurant managed by a former actor who appeared in a few episodes of a different soap opera. And it's meant to create something akin to a new episode of Passions, not to be watched on television, but to be listened to in a cassette tape, either alone or with your downstairs neighbors. So it's more about, it's an album about the memories of watching this show. And because even if you wanted to, it was very hard to rewatch all of it or to remember it clearly. Right. So It's like these foggy memories, these distant memories of a time and a place of what your life was like. It's like, oh yeah, I was watching this when I was, working at this restaurant and I had my downstairs neighbors and bonding with your neighbors. And I think the music represents this, these half memories of the show. And it's really interesting to see how that reflects because it's so DJ VLK is trying to replicate the rhythm of one of these episodes. And a soap opera is meant to be filled with twists and turns, plot reveals, and oh my God, big moments. And so there's a lot of big moments that don't really make a lot of sense because none of it makes sense because it's soap opera. They just make it up as they go along. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not some Kevin Feige planning out 2,000 episodes of.
Oh yeah, maybe they get a season in advance, and then
and thankfully didn't because unfortunately the actor who played the doll died, right? You said they replaced him with a monkey.
Yeah,
the replacement character was like an orangutan playing a nurse.
Yeah,
so you can't plan that. You have to let that happen, and that's important.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, the first track, like I said, each one's about 20 minutes long. Starts really strong, kind of gets a little more minimalist, soundscape. And then I really like towards the end of it, we started transitioning more to a psychedelic acid rock vibe for a little bit. And it's really weird how it kind of drifts from one theme in one genre of music to another.
Yeah.
Just every couple minutes, there's a big change.
Yeah. So keeping on the first track, I agree. Like a lot of the changes. I think the parts that stand out most to me, I like the really droney bits. I want to say 7-ish minutes in. This is kind of the problem with talking about two big long tracks.
Oh yeah.
Referencing them precisely. But it takes about 8 to 10 minutes. And then it goes into this big drone, very haunting. There's a lot of dialogue kind of drifting in and out of it. And then you get back into beats and then back into rock and string instruments. And,
I love the string instruments.
Yeah. There's a little bit, 5 or 6 minutes in and then the last minute and a half of the first track sound really, really great.
Hell yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I expected more of. Like I was saying, just pulled from the music of the show. But then track 2, which I think is the more unhinged of the two tracks.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
A lot of the first track, if you didn't tell me where it was coming from, I wouldn't think about it as much. If I didn't know the history of the album, if it was just playing I'm imagining some fantasy world where this would just play on the radio. But to jump to the middle, I think the part that really broke me out of what was going on is, the first half is a lot of beats, and then we'll use your turn, turntablist, this build up. But then in the middle, it just it cuts and it picks this vocal sample that's Glenn, Don't Embarrass Yourself, I think is what he's saying. It's Glenn, Don't Embarrass Yourself. Glenn, and it starts looping and loops on top of itself. And the voice gets, I don't think it's probably doesn't sound this way in the show, but I guess I don't know. But it's gets robotic and crushed and becomes more and more like chaotic until you can't like distinguish individual samples. It just builds and loops and builds and loops until you get noise. And that part was like a real, even though it's halfway through the second track, so you're 75% of the way through the album. That was like a weird turning point for me that I really, really liked.
Yeah, the way this album uses the dialogue as a basis for a new instrument, like the way it mutates and transforms the dialogue into an instrument, a lot of pitch shifting, a lot of like distorting, and it's just fascinating because like we don't remember the average dialogue of a soap opera, but the big moments, you know, Glenn, please don't embarrass yourself. But but it's this weird just cacophony that just works really well. I enjoyed it quite a bit as well. Yeah, there's a lot of other little sound clips here and there. Even making track
Car's
one.
So Sweet.
Car's So
track
Sweet.
One.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, it's very inventive, and I kind of want to see what else this DJ has done with this Plunderphonics. Like, it also reminds me a bit of like the Mouth Sounds and Mouse Dreams and that kind of thing. It's not as fun or like earwormy as those albums, but like it's still in that tradition of like playing with sound to just like what Plunderphonics was meant to be. And
right. You know, transforming your original source material into something completely new and unrecognizable. You know, maybe some of those vocal lines would stand out to people who are fans of the show. You know, they wouldn't on their own to me, other than the wild fucking mixing and transformation, like I was saying, because, you know, track 2 really continues this trend of like kind of back and forth between being like sort of a calm vibe and then more like, I guess, EDM beats. I don't have like as much of a language for this genre, but it kind of goes back and forth of like, yeah, like new agey or soothing.
Like I put spa music in my notes at some point.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I sometimes call it aquarium music because I used to play like that type of new agey stuff at the Baltimore Aquarium all the time.
But like spas or like a massage place. Yeah.
But then it goes back into like turning little haze and stuff from vocals into beats. Like when you were a kid, you used to play with like the vocal effects on like an old Casio and stuff, but it's all like panned weird. It's like got these like filters over it. So it's all applied vibrato almost. And then that just grows and grows and grows into the, I guess, like a sign off almost for the station.
God. That's the NBC, like that's what they put at the end of
chimes, like their daytime chimes.
Yeah.
And it just loops and builds and like just decays on itself into nothing.
I mean, the entire album is good,
noise.
But like that last 90 seconds is, oh my God, I just lost my mind. It's so fucking good. I want to clip that last 90 seconds and just put it on, just show the world this is, it's so good. I love taking this iconic network sound and just turning it into this, again, symphony of noise. Like it's I love it.
Yeah. And I think those are the moments where an album like this shines, and it has to engage in those if that's what you want to do. Because we've talked about like some other albums have like weird concepts but don't go as weird with it as they should. And this album gets weird with it in like the best way. And that's what you have to do, because and weird here is not obviously not like a pejorative. It's weird and like definitionally just not a typical subject matter. You know? So that's why there's moments of like, Glenn, don't embarrass yourself, or like turning the NBC chimes into like doom noise. Yeah. That's what you have to do in this type of project. And it fucking works.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of turntablism and Plunderphonics like this. Like I would put this album on and just forget it was on and just be like, oh yeah, this is good. Until you get to something like Glenn, don't embarrass yourself. And then be like, oh, all right, this is fucking cooking. Like, I love it. Yeah.
It would be so much work, but this would kill as a visual album.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like a live DJ set, but with visuals from the show.
Yeah. If they could get those scenes of like, Glenn, don't embarrass yourself, and just chop them up and loop them, and it's ripe for visual element. Because that's the only way I want to experience Passion's a soap opera now.
You don't want to just sit down and watch it.
No. Like there's 2,000 episodes. I'm never going to watch it. Like I can't, I have a hard time watching like a 10 episode season of something. So like, I love this kind of treatment and critique of like popular culture of like, this is the best kind of stuff that we're talking about is taking this weird thing that was and it's also a weird way to show like something can be omnipresent and very popular in popular culture and then just disappear without leaving, like a very Ozymandias kind of thing, right? Like just swallowed up by the desert of new culture and new, just oblivion, wiping it away. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. And I agree with you that sort of access to somebody else's memories are what really wins. It's like the best part of when we talk about doing like signal wave and stuff like that, of like getting in this case, a fairly chaotic processing of someone else's memories of a fairly chaotic show. And I think they did a really great job at capturing that. Oh,
yeah. I wonder if like some of these elements, like the car so sweet and don't embarrass yourself, aren't even like big moments in the show, but like either like the DJ, was the artist was looking through YouTube clips and like, oh, I remember that episode and just grab them, or like they're personally important for some reason. Like that was a particularly memorable episode. Like you're a fan of something, you all the elements kind of get erased until you, but except for a few key moments, like I can't tell you how many movies I've seen and then rewatch later and I totally forget about like half or 2/3 of the movie, except for like, I remember a couple scenes, but that's about it. And then like, oh, wow, this is new. I don't remember this at all. But like, I remember seeing it. So yeah, memory's a funny thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say to everybody out there, definitely check this out. As with anything, there'd be a link in the show notes. And that's it. I don't have anything else to add. I guess a little mini call to action. If there are like other examples of this type of media, you think either from this person, I was looking through the tapes on the Strategic Tape Reserve is who released it. Looks like it's out of Spain. Yeah, and scrolling down to the bottom, you got a Shaq Fu album from VLK. Shaq Fu is a classic fighting game. Shaq Fu is made entirely of sounds taken from Shaquille O'Neal's second album.
Oh boy!
That sounds.
I think I got something to listen to.
That's from 2014. So they've been at this for a while.
Yeah,
and that shows. I mean, they're really, really good at it, right? So they've definitely been.
Oh, he's got a little blog spot.
Yeah,
see if it's still around. Last update in 2016. All right, so maybe not.
Blogs. That's how they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check this out. Check out their other work. Let us know if there are similar albums of like lost media or something that resonates with you in the same way, because this really, really worked for me. So I'd be open to recommendations along the same lines.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much for listening and for making sure we don't embarrass ourselves. We loved checking this out. Again, let us know if there's any lost media albums that interest you. Next episode, though, we're just going to get back into checking out some new music. See, look at the first round of 2025 releases, see what's out there, see what interests us, and hopefully get back to you with some cool new albums. If you like what we're doing, you want to check out more of it, we have 40-some bonus episodes on Patreon. Most recently, we sat down with Caleb Stokes of Delta Green and Heaven on Games and talked about Hallmark movies, which was a enlightening adventure, to say the least. That little Hallmark experiment over Christmas. You can also find us on social media. We're pretty much Nightclerk Radio anywhere. Patreon, Blue Sky is really the only one I care about anymore. The other ones still exist, but I don't look at them.
Yep.
So definitely check us out on Blue Sky if you want to connect there, or you can always email us at nightclerkradio@gmail.com. Wherever you do choose to check us out, which should just be the one place, Blue Sky. Don't go to the other sites. Rate, review, follow, subscribe, etc. Well, YouTube's okay.
Yeah.
You'll probably find us on YouTube. Do all that rate, review, subscribe nonsense that people ask for. It does help out. And we always end with advocating, building community, either through us or through others. Talk about what you like, and hopefully there's some weird ass lost media soap operas on there. And if there are, here's the album for you. So thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.